I've heard you mention on the air a number of times about lifting the cap. So I went on Google, and it says in 2024, once 168,600 has been earned, the employee no longer has to pay Social Security taxes deducted from their paycheck.
Neither does the employer. Neither does the employer. It's 50-50.
Right. So does that mean if a person made $175,000 and another person made $750,000, naturally the one who made $750,000 is going to have more federal and state taxes taken out, but the Social Security tax will be the same. Did I understand it right?
That's correct. That's correct. I remember when I first learned about this, it was in the 1970s. And Terry O'Connor and I owned this company, the Woodley Herber Company, and we were making good money. And my dad was our bookkeeper. And we sat down with him to do our taxes and whatnot. And he was like, oh, you made over, and back then it was like 32,000, 33,000, something like that, which would be, in today's dollars, probably 150,000. And he said, you made over $30,000 a year this year, so you're no longer having to pay Social Security taxes. And I was like, huh? And I've always been shocked by that, that we have a system that says if you're rich, you don't have to pay as much in Social Security taxes as a percentage of your income as if you're poor. If I was working at a hamburger stand and I was making $6,000 a year, 100% of my income would be taxed for Social Security, 100% of it. But if I was making $1 million a year, only about 16% of my income would be taxed for Social Security purposes. That's wrong.
Tom, can you explain to me briefly why would a Democrat or a Republican be against lifting the cap?
Republicans are against lifting the cap because they call it a tax increase. And, they're just unwilling to raise taxes on rich people, period, full stop, because the Republican Party has basically one purpose in America, and that's to serve the interests of the very rich, the morbidly rich. Democrats have been calling to raise the cap forever. This has been, repeated, going back to the Johnson administration. They've just never had the votes to do it. Or maybe they've just never had the cojones to do it. I don't know. But, that cap was originally put in there back in 1935 when Franklin Roosevelt rolled out Social Security as a way to get the conservative votes. I mean, that was the price he had to pay. Just like in 1967 when Lyndon Johnson rolled out Medicare, the 20% hole in Medicare was to satisfy the conservatives in the South. They didn't want black people who might not be able to afford the 20% to be able to get any health care at all, and they thought that 20% would be a barrier to them. You go back to the origin stories, and it usually has to do with either racism or supporting the interests of the morbidly rich.